That would have been a bummer, huh?
That would have been a bummer. Will you make sure that the red dots are on Cubase as well? One, you're the man.
God, I can't figure out why Father Calloway's not joining.
Yeah. I hope. Hey, everybody, before we get started, if everybody would just say a quick prayer that all of our equipment works and that Father Calloway will join us at 8:45 this evening. That is the plan, that he will be joining us at 8:45, but we'll see. We're not positive, so I sure hope he does, and I sure hope our equipment works. So if it's not, then you guys aren't holding up your end of the bargain. You guys need to be praying. Let's roll, Juan.
Warning, the Catholic Man Show contains high levels of manliness. If you think you may be too weak to withstand the manliness represented in the following program, please do yourself a favor and stop listening now. If you choose to continue in spite of this warning, if at any time you feel yourself overcome by the manliness, stop immediately and consult your closest medical professional. And now, for the not-so-fair, faint, or frilly, we present The Catholic Man Show.
Fellow Dragon Slayers, welcome to the Catholic Man Show. Adam Minahan here, sitting in studio with Dave, best friend Dave.
Yo!
Best friend Juan on the buttons. We got Jim in here, making sure that no one breaks in. Hopefully. Are you sure?
He's even got his black security hat on today.
Yeah, so
it says Catholic Man Show on it.
More and more official as the day goes by. Man, Dave, I am so glad to be just recording with, just to hang out for a little bit. It has been a crazy week.
Tell me, bro. Oh
crazy.
My gosh, I am spilling. I was trying to do a distance pour,
and it didn't work.
Actually it worked until the dismount.
Mm.
You know what? This has got me before. One time, I was trying to balance my sister's violin on my nose.
Yeah.
And I did successfully. This is another good example of when the dismount got me.
Gotcha.
Because I can balance things on my nose.
Violins are expensive too. Did you break it?
I did.
Ooh.
Yep.
As a parent,
it's a real bummer.
I would.
Yes. My mom was, shall we say, furious with me?
I think furious would be probably appropriate.
Yes, I had to fix it.
Man, that would be.
It was able to be fixed, but
good.
All the same.
Yeah, man. This has been a crazy week though. One, I had to redo a fence. You know, I had to build a fence, which is by yourself. Building a fence by yourself is not easy.
I know. I have done that.
Because you have to especially once you hold up the gate, you have to get something to where you can prop the gate up to hold it to where you can still bolt it in.
Yes, exactly.
And
that becomes the issue. Is just having to hold something and screw it or drill it.
Yeah, it's getting tight.
You just need two people to build a fence.
Right. So I was working
specifically
on that.
the gate, like you mentioned.
But
the gate.
The gate is
yeah.
But you know what was awesome? I got my boys to do the sealing, the sealant, to seal the fence.
Okay.
While I was putting it on, so they were able to work and stain and seal the
staining sort of.
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
Yeah, they're sealing it so that way it lasts longer. So they were sitting there putting on the kind of it's almost like an epoxy, and putting it on there while I was putting the fence up. So it was really cool to kind of bond with them. In fact, we had some really good conversations about their favorite saints, and they had questions about our family patron saint is Saint Gerard, and they've always known that, and they know that that's who we pray to every night. And Luke goes, Dad, why is our patron saint Saint Gerard? And it occurred to me, I had never told them that, when Mom and I got married, they said that we weren't going to be able to have kids, and so that's why we.
Your very existence, son.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
The reason.
So, anyway, that, and then, man, it was rough. our family our family dog passed away last night, which is like she's 14, so she's an older dog, but
still
it was tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. We did a good job by making.
You didn't tell Jim this.
I didn't tell. Yeah, Riley died last night. It was really tough. It was tough to.
You're gonna make our bodyguard start crying.
Well, I know it was. It was really tough, man. It was not easy. You know, we prepped the kids. I talked to you about this before. Like we prepped the kids,
which is good.
Which is a good thing.
And that you knew it was coming, so you could even do that because you don't always know.
Right, but man, it was tough. But so to Riley, well, cheers to Riley tonight.
Cheers to a good dog.
To a good dog who's loyal and kind. And she was an awesome dog. She was so great. Like
she was kind, depending on who you were.
Exactly. Well, that's right. She was a perfect dog.
Yeah.
She did so many cool tricks too. Anyway, what are we drinking tonight, Dave?
So tonight we're drinking Amroot. We've had Amroot Fusion on the show before, and we really like Amroot Fusion. In fact,
no, it's not back there.
No, okay. We used to have it kind of in the background.
Which was a Oloroso finish. So it was a peated whiskey combined with the Oloroso finish.
Right, and it's a Scotch that they make in India.
Yeah, so it's a single malt.
Well,
is what
okay,
it's called,
so on the back of this it says, "Made from the finest imported Scotch Scotch barley,
right.
Scotch barley." Okay, I see. Yeah, so but they make it like a Scotch, but it's made in India, and it's kind of hard to find. Ironically, especially if you're in India. A buddy of ours he happened to be in India in the place where they make it. And so he thought, oh, great, I'm going to be able to get some of this. Couldn't find any. But then he found some in the airport on the way home.
I guess they export all of it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the market for Scotch is not very big in India. So the Fusion is like kind of the one that we had been able to find in the past. But you and I both found another Amroot like the same week. And I almost bought this one too. And
luckily you
texted you first. Yeah. Right. So this is their peated Scotch. Well, it's not. It's a single malt whiskeys. But what are your thoughts?
So
tell me.
So on the nose, you catch the peat, but as soon as on the palate, it's a very almost molasses, carameled sugar sweetness that then gets overrun by the peat at the end with a like pepper, a black pepper taste at the end with a long finish.
It's a subtle black pepper
with a long finish.
Yeah, that is really nice.
That is how. Those are the notes that I would give.
How much it was, like $70?
Yeah, 60. I think 65. I think it was 65.
Yeah, so that's especially in the world that we live in today, where we've got tariffs on Scotch.
Scotch, right?
Which is
what are your tasting notes?
Tragedy. Stand by.
I mean, I think at the very beginning there is this like sweetness that.
Yeah, so I'm getting some orange, like kind of an not citrus.
Okay.
Like more like an orange candy.
Oh, okay.
Like orange flavor. Like you know how that has a sweet.
On the palate or on the nose?
On the palate, right away.
Okay.
So that's the sweetness to me. It's a little bit of orange sweetness. You know, like those oranges that have the sugar, like this orange candy. They got the sugar all over them that you know that are just delicious.
That your grandma normally gives you during Halloween.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of orange, sweet. That's what I'm getting right away.
That is. I don't know if anybody has ever described a Scotch with a orange slice gummy. But,
you're welcome.
But here we are.
This is why you tune into the Catholic Man Show.
Here we are.
Right here. So, Adam, I have to tell you.
Okay.
Gary Sticka, he sent me a text message. He's a buddy of ours. He sent me a message today. He said, hey, I don't have Twitter, but I want a sticker. And I had to tell him, Gary, I'm ashamed to tell you that I have no idea what you're talking about. And so he's like, well, maybe you should check out your Twitter account. And I was like, maybe I should. Is this? I'm looking at some coasters over here. Is this?
No, those are stickers.
Those are stickers. Is this? Are these the stickers
yes.
he's been referring to?
Yes, we ran a sticker campaign.
Can you talk about these stickers?
Sure. We ran a sticker campaign on our Twitter account. This one is it's really awesome. Father Solinus Casey, and it says, thank God ahead of time. This is kind of one of his
Juan, I think if you hold
sayings.
They'll be blurry.
Yeah, it'll be blurry. But
It's
over
here right now.
A drawing that we had done. We had commissioned. We're actually going to make it a T-shirt as well. So we're really excited about them. They're pretty sweet. But we're going to be running a Father's Day giveaway here pretty soon. So make sure you check out our website, The Catholic Mansion. We have a lot of sweet giveaways that we're going to be doing. So make sure you check that out, thecatholicmanshow.com. But yeah, we're giving away stickers. Just follow us on our social media pages because we continue to do giveaways. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, stickers. Solanus Casey.
Yeah, Father Solanus. He's blessed, actually.
Blessed Solanus Casey. Yeah. With the red glasses, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So your wife has not given birth yet. She's not in labor that we know of.
No. Yesterday, she looks at me and she's like, I feel kind of. She's like holding her belly and she's like, I feel kind of like maybe crampy, like I'm having some cramps, or I just feel kind of funny. And I was like, do I need to stop drinking? Like, she's like, well, why would you need to stop drinking? And I was like, I love you, but like, if you're gonna have a baby, I want to be on my A game, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was, we were grilling and stuff, but then it was a false alarm. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. But we are inside 2 weeks.
Right.
From the due date, so it could be, like, if I have to leave. That would make an awesome show
for you.
If I just like bolted,
bailed.
Like Juan,
I'll follow you.
Fill in. Oh,
Juan would just yeah. So you guys would. That would be something
Juan,
you guys both would do.
Take over for me, and I get across the street, and Juan's right behind me. He's like, "No, I'm coming with you. I'm
bailing on you guys." So
Juan is the kind of guy that, like, when your wife is having a baby, you have to like come up with a plan to like keep him out.
Yeah,
like because he might come in the middle. Like of baby being born. Juan is that committed to life, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. So hey, we're hopefully going to be having Father Donald Calloway on the show tonight,
like this episode.
Right. We're hopefully
it has been arranged.
Talking about with Father Calloway on St. Joseph. And we have some really interesting questions that I've not heard him or answer on other interviews. So I really hope that he joins us.
Yeah. We're going to maybe have a little debate on some of the stuff he has in his book, which
will be fun.
It'll be friendly because ultimately I agree with him, but I want to talk to him about some of the struggles I had while reading it.
Yeah. The consecration to St. Joseph is, by the way, what we're referencing, which will be our man gear, so hang in there. We'll talk. We'll jump into it here in just a few minutes. We'll be right back.
Hey, so this camera here is frozen. These two are live. Do we know why is that?
No.
This is your camera.
Try again. Click on it. It's not frozen. See?
But why can't it? You see in here?
It's just so hard to see because it's small. Like it's not. Okay, but it's fine.
Yeah,
it's
but
fine on the
look
video.
at it on the preview.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't know, Juan.
Let me do a quick play.
Yeah. See, we're fine. Okay, let's keep going because if he jumps on, we got to make sure that we're timing this correctly. You're fine.
Which really, like, he was going to be at 8:45. We started at 8:15, so that gives us 6 minutes.
Right, roughly.
Right. I'll see. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Mi amo David. I'm here with Adam Minahan, Juan Posada, and Jim Spencer. We try to speak Spanish on the show, just as much as we can. That's about as much as I can, right there.
But, I mean,
I nailed it.
Yeah.
I nailed it.
You did do a really good job.
That was spectacular. I mean, the pronunciation, the delivery.
It's actually muy fantastico.
Yeah. I mean,
so... Well done.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it, actually.
Yeah.
When I think about it more.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about St. Joseph today.
Pumped.
You have consecrated yourself to St. Joseph.
Yes, sir.
I have consecrated myself to St. Joseph. Juan has consecrated himself to St. Joseph.
And Jim is on his way.
He's my patron saint.
And
Joseph is your patron saint.
My confirmation saint.
Nice.
Nice.
Have you started the book yet?
I
Yeah.
Yeah. He's starting the book soon.
Like there's in the like suggested days to start, sort of like the consecration of Mary, so that you end the consecration on a Josephine. Josephine. Kind of makes it sound feminine if you say Josephine. Josephite, though, is like
the married, like
that would be like a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag Josephite, I think, is like one of the funniest hashtags to just throw in, like at weird moments. Anyway, just giving that to you guys.
Yeah, but
you can use it.
But you did it.
So we've done the consecration. Phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
Totally blew my mind.
Me too.
All of the stuff about St. Joseph and how awesome he is. And so the man gear today is the book. The book that we're talking about today, The Consecration to St. Joseph by Father Donald Calloway.
Mm-hmm. We will hopefully have him on.
And it's like there's a whole book about him and all of this stuff. And, it's, part of me wonders. In fact, I did say I wondered this out loud throughout many times in the book, like, how do we know this? And then, because one thing that Father Calloway does in this book is he will assert something about St. Joseph. Like, St. Joseph loved his wife more than any man has ever loved a woman. Right. And it was like, I found myself saying, like anyone could even know that, Napoleon. Okay?
Right.
Several times. And because he would just like assert it and not even back it up and just carry on like he didn't just assert something huge without any evidence. Mm-hmm. And so I would be brewing on it. And then like the next, in like a page later, he would go, wham, here's the proof.
Right.
And here's a quote from like somebody huge. Mm-hmm. It's very well quoted. I had no idea.
All the references that he's
so many references. Cool. Yeah. Also, Saint Julian Aymard.
Mm-hmm. In the 1800s, is that when he was?
So I did an Acts retreat. I don't know if you have, if you have Acts retreats where you guys are, but we have Acts. It's like a parish. It's sort of like a Curcio at the parish level. Mm-hmm. So I went on a retreat, and Saint Julian Aymard was the patron saint of the retreat I went on. And ever since then, I've been seeing him all over the place. Because he's in this book a bunch.
Yes.
And then, like, just yesterday, Pamela was playing this YouTube video by one of the Sisters of Charity, and they're talking all about St. Peter Julian Aymard. He's like, I've been running into him. It's like, is he becoming popular? I don't know. I hope so.
Maybe he's wanting to be a part of your life more.
I think so. He already is a part of my life more because I had no idea who he was until I went on this Acts retreat. Anyway, he's a big dude for St. Joseph. Huge St. Joseph dude. But this book, I really like the way he lays it out because he walks through the litany to St. Joseph. Mm-hmm. So each day, there's 33 days for the consecration, and each day is talking about another aspect of the litany. Like Joseph most just, Joseph most prudent, Joseph most
chaste,
most strong. Right, exactly. Terror of demons.
The glory of the domestic church.
Yeah.
Or domestic life. The glory of domestic life, yeah.
It depends on the translation. I've seen some that say glory of domestic life, home life, or the domestic church.
Which I love that.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Glory of home life.
That's like awesome.
Yeah, because he spent his life at home.
One of the things that really...
actually, most people did back then, but...
Right. One of the things that really stood out to me that I kind of forgot about, I remember when I was younger, my grandparents telling me about, making sure to pray for a happy death. Making sure to ask for a happy death and asking for that grace. And that's something that I feel like has gone away in today's culture of remembering to pray for a happy death. And what does that mean? It made me started thinking about it, and I thought, man, what a grace it is to know, to have the opportunity to receive the sacraments before you die, to be able to maybe get the apostolic pardon before you die. I mean, these are graces that
right
are some of the biggest graces that you can receive in your lifetime,
and your last opportunity. I know that's really how I feel. I think that long-term illness, however long-term that may be, is the most blessed way to die, because you have the opportunity, this incredible opportunity, to prepare for your death. Mm-hmm. There is much suffering in this type of death, a lot of suffering. Mm-hmm. But how little does that suffering compare with the opportunity to prepare for your death, to know I'm getting closer, and even like at the end, I will probably die in the next 48 hours, and to just make sure that that 48 hours is filled with the sacraments.
Right.
What else is more important than that?
Right.
Like I would take all of the suffering that there is if I had that opportunity.
I remember when my grandfather passed away, I was looking and I was just, when there's pivotal moments in your life and you just like try to like take a snapshot of like what's going on so you can remember it, because when big things happen in your life, it's hard to remember exactly what's going on, how you feel, like some of the details get blurry. And so I remember just like sitting there thinking, and he had a strong devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and St. Joseph and our Blessed Mother. And I remember just thinking like, here's my grandfather who is suffering, but he has received all the sacraments. He's received the apostolic pardon. He has his family around him who is praying the rosary, before he passes away. And like, what a grace-filled moment it was, and what an opportunity not only for obviously for him, but for his family to see the patriarch of the family suffer well and die in the state of grace. It was just so moving that that was like one of those things that connected the dots while I was reading this book. I realized, yes, that is something that I fail to do a lot is to make sure to pray for a happy death.
Yeah, the apostolic pardon is like the nuclear bomb of grace. I mean, it's like
outside of the Eucharist.
Well, right, yeah, but yeah, of course,
right. I knew you weren't gonna.
Of course, Adam.
Right.
Duh.
I mean, Mary's the best, and then Mary.
Right, like who's your favorite saint aside from Mary?
What's your favorite book except for the Bible?
Except for the Bible. If you could go back in time and spend time with one person, who would it be? Except for Jesus and Mary, right? So anyway, but today we're talking about St. Joseph. And one of the things that St. Joseph has in common with Our Lady is a parental office over Christ. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the reasons why Joseph is such a powerful intercessor. Because just like Our Lady, who Christ never refuses anything that she asks for, one of the reasons is because he obeys the commandment, be obedient to your father and mother.
Right.
Okay? She's his mother. Well, Joseph, too, holds the office of fatherhood over Christ, the second person of the Trinity. Mm-hmm. He's obviously not the father of the Holy Spirit or God the Father, but neither is Mary the mother of God the Holy Spirit or God the Father. She is Mary of Jesus, the Son. So, I feel like after having read this book that Joseph is just so underrated, like huge. Mm-hmm. In fact, Joseph, the church actually proclaims that he has his own level of
worship.
Well, yeah, you call it worship.
Proto-dulia.
Yeah, it's proto-dulia. So we have dulia for the saints. We have latria, which only is the worship that belongs to God alone. But then we have hyperdulia for Mary,
which is like reverence. Outside of
exactly.
latria, everything else is
reverence, right? But then Joseph receives his own title as well of protodulia, which means like first honor,
or proto,
right?
Proto, first,
right? Exactly. Mm-hmm. So the church already says, yes, Joseph is not just another saint. Mm-hmm. He does stand above all the other saints except for Mary. Mm-hmm. And so we need to have him in our lives. One of the things that Father Calloway really drives home in the book is that St. Joseph has a spiritual fatherhood for all of us. In a similar way that Mary is the mother of us all, mm-hmm. Joseph is a spiritual father to all of us. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's not God the Father, obviously.
Right.
Right, and so it's a little bit different because there is no God the Mother. So Mary kind of takes the role of motherhood. She's the only one in that space, so to speak, But St. Joseph has a real fatherhood over us spiritually. And I think especially for us as men, we have to get to know this saint because he is the one who can teach us what it means to be a man apart from Christ better than anyone. And there's this old, I know I've mentioned this on the show, those old bracelets, WWJD bracelets. I hate those things because, like, what would Jesus do? I don't know. Like, probably like raise someone from the dead or like die on the cross for everybody. I can't do those, but I can do what the saints have done. Joseph is a man, just like a regular dude. Well, I mean, no, he rose to greatness, but
right.
Anyway,
which we're all called to.
We can imitate Saint Joseph.
Yes, and so we're going to talk with Father Calloway when we get we're right back, talking about consecration to Saint Joseph.
Get the book.
We'll be right back. He's here? Oh, awesome. Father, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
I can hear you loud and clear. Sweet.
Awesome. Great. Love the shirt. Grateful Dad. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I wore it today for, it's like, I need a Saint Joseph shirt. And I was like, well, this is as close as I can get.
I love it. I used to be a deadhead, so that I like it.
Oh, nice. Hey, I like the picture behind you.
Yeah, we have the same one.
I wonder if you like it.
I'm privileged though because I commissioned this painting, so I got to put it in a big blanket. So
that's epic.
How come
Isn't
this one?
it?
How come it's not in the book? You have some other ones in the book. This one's.
Oh, brother, are we recording right now?
No.
Yes, we are. Yes, we're on Facebook.
Oh, wait, we're Facebook Live.
We're Facebook Live.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So
I'll tell you privately.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, so did you get a chance to read our email by chance?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Are you good with what we wanted to ask?
Absolutely.
Sweet. So we will have 2 12-minute segments. When you hear the music, that means we got 30 seconds left. We're streaming Facebook Live. So just FYI.
Okay, cool.
All
Thanks,
right.
man.
All right, here we go. Let's roll. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Sitting here with David Niles, and I want to give everybody who's listening right now a big thank you. Before the show, we asked you guys to pray that the equipment works well, that Father Calloway is able to make it, and lo and behold, we do have Father Donald Calloway with us. Father, it is so great to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's awesome to be with you, man.
So I think it was probably a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to interview you on the Champions of the Rosary. And you can still find that on our website and things like that. It was a great interview. Awesome book. Loved it. And when I had a chance to talk with you, was it the Wichita Family Conference that you were with?
I think it was.
Yeah. I remember the book hadn't come out yet, and you told me, Adam, this book is going to be even better than the Champions of the Rosary. It is going to have more impact than even the Champions of the Rosary. And I remember thinking, Father, come on, man. Like, how could that possibly be? And lo and behold, it has. It has been amazing. It's caught on fire. Everybody I talk to seems to know about it, either have a copy, already consecrated themselves, or in the process of it. So congrats on this.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So let me ask you this: what made you what was the inside that said I need to bring Saint Joseph to everybody? Like, what was it that really made you want to take a deep dive into Saint Joseph?
Well, I think just the crisis that we're going through that seems to be different than in the past. In the past, we've had crises when it comes to false teaching. So we have that stuff today for sure. But we've got today what I call an anthropological crisis. We've got people confused about what is marriage. What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a woman? We got gender ideology. People are thinking all kinds of crazy ideas today. So I thought, we need a loving father, a good father to restore order to our chaotic, broken, messed up house right now. And what better man than the head of the Holy Family to bring some order to our situation?
Yeah. So, Father, we were talking about your book a little bit. We kind of gave an overview of it in our last segment. And so I know you've done a lot. I listen to Catholic radio a lot, and you've done a lot of interviews just talking about the book. But I wanted to get the opportunity to ask you some of the questions that I wanted to ask you while I was reading the book.
Yeah.
Because you make a lot of bold claims about St. Joseph in this book, and I came to really appreciate them all because I don't know if it's your writing style or if you did it on purpose, but you would throw out this thing like about St. Joseph, and it would be kind of like wow, that's a bold statement, and you wouldn't even prove it. You would just kind of throw it and move on as if like, yep, that's just the way it is. And so I would be sitting there reading going like, what? You're just not even... What? And then like a page or two later, you would have all of these quotes from saints referring to the very thing that I was sitting there stewing over. And it was like, oh, okay, you got me again. Like, how many times is he going to do this to me in this book? But the one that I got hung up on the most that I really wanted to get to talk to you about is the idea of when it says Joseph was going to leave Mary, or, some Bible translations say divorce her, which you talk about in the book as well. And I grew up just kind of reading the narrative thinking, oh, yeah, well, he was going to divorce her because he thought she had been unfaithful to him. Joseph's not a fool. He knows where babies come from. And she's pregnant. So, he's going to do the kind thing and do it quietly because he could have her stoned, But then you talk about this idea of the reverence theory. Can you just tell us briefly what the reverence theory is as opposed to the other one?
Yeah, so there's actually three theories throughout Christianity that have been there from the beginning, and the emphasis is theory, right? And you have saints who hold to either one, and so that's why we've had different translations throughout history. Some translate this Greek word apoluo to say divorce. And it can be translated as divorce. The context determines it. But it can also be translated as distance from, to separate from. So different from divorce. So the first theory is called the suspicion theory. That's where St. Joseph thinks that she is basically committed adultery and he wants to divorce her. The second one is called the stupefaction theory. Kind of a cool name, stupefaction, right? You don't hear that word much ever.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? So that's where he is perplexed. He doesn't know what's going on, but he just wants to bail out. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to divorce her.
I feel like a lot of men can relate to that. Like, whoa, I don't know what's going on. It's getting a little weird for me. I'm out of here.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then the third one is the reverence theory. This is the one where he finds out that she's pregnant, and he's like, I can't do this, because he doesn't suspect her of adultery or someone's taking advantage of her. He thinks he's not worthy. He's like David in the Ark of the Covenant in the Old Testament, where the Ark comes into his presence and he's like, Lord, I am not worthy. And he sends it away for 3 months, right? Or like Moses before the burning bush, takes his sandals off. He's not worthy. So that's what I believe, the reverence theory. And many saints do as well. And I got the, St. Thomas Aquinas, the greatest theologian ever, and many, many others. It's just a way of understanding it because of his great insight. He's an ordinary man, but at the same time, he is extraordinarily filled with grace and insight and close union with the Holy Spirit. So that's what I believe. And, probably part of the thing that you struggle with is, well, how could he be a just man? How is it just to just leave her, whether you call it divorce or not?
Right. Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah. And if it's all about reverence, like, oh, I'm not worthy. How is like abandoning her? How is that a reverent thing to do? That was a big hang up of mine.
Sure. Yeah, no, and I get that. And I think the best explanation for it is that, he didn't understand what was going on theologically in its terminology. He wouldn't have been able to talk about the hypostatic union of, the second person of the Trinity taking on human nature. But he knew that God was at work in his wife's womb. And then he realized if God can bring about a baby in a virgin's body, God certainly can take care of her and that child, because that's God's child. Therefore, he didn't really see himself as abandoning her. If God can do that in her womb, certainly he can feed and house her forever. So he's thinking, I can't do this. I'm not worthy. I found myself encountering a mystery here. I just need to back away until God gives me another sign, because I can't go near the ark lest I die. Remember, in the Old Testament, if any man entered into the Holy of Holies or touched the Ark of the Covenant, dead. Mm-hmm. So that he's thinking this stuff, and he's like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just ask
That's amazing.
Uzzah.
Yeah, Uzzah was
He,
made a mistake.
yeah, and he was trying to save the ark. You know, like, oh, it's gonna fall. Don't fall. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, sorry, Uzzah.
God killed a dude to just prove the sinlessness of Mary. You know, like the immaculate conception. Yeah, he killed a dude over it. That's how important it was. But so like. The other thing that I was kind of thinking is like, all right, so if you're St. Joseph, clearly St. Joseph has a hang up. You know, he's encountering like something, he's not sure what to do. And so I was thinking, all right, well, God, he would send an angel. He did send an angel to clear it up for Joseph, to clear up his confusion or to, you know, the thing that he was having a problem with. And so when I read what did the angel say, you know, it seems like the angel says, no, fear not to take Mary into your home because the baby is from the Lord. So it seemed to me like that must be the hang up because that's what the angel came and said. Can you talk about that? Because also when I like read that later on, I realized like that's not all that the angel said. The angel also talked about giving Jesus a name. So can you have any comments on that?
Yeah, no, your points are great. And those are things that a lot of times it has to do with the translation. So if you read certain translations, it doesn't read like you just read it. It reads like the angel is affirming him that Joseph is already thinking that it's of God, and the angel just affirms it. Like that's why the angel comes to him and says, Joseph, son of David. Why would the angel put that little phrase in there? So that Joseph remembers, remember what David did? You're in the lineage of David. I've come sent from God to tell you, don't do what he did. Okay, you are not worthy. You're right. You passed the test, Joseph. God was testing you. He wanted to see if you were willing to sacrifice yourself to such a degree, you know, like Abraham and his son. Are you willing to give everything? Because if you're willing to give everything, you're basically going to be like a new Adam. Your children, spiritual children, are going to be more numerous than the stars of the heaven, more so than Abraham. And in some translation, and I have one in the book, it's from this great priest who's now deceased, Father Ignace de la Poterie. He gives a translation, he was a biblical scholar, that it's mind-blowing. And it's the angel is affirming what Joseph already knows, that this is of God. So he's not like revealing, oh, by the way, it's of the Holy Spirit, just in case you were wondering, Joseph. No, it is. What you're thinking is true, you know?
Yeah, right.
So amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And like the fact that the angel told Joseph to name Jesus, you know, that to me was like, okay, reading your book really brought that element of scripture to new light because now the angel is sort of giving Joseph an authority over Christ that Joseph did not assume upon himself, you know? And how could he? It's not his child, and he knows that. But now he's been given this authority over Christ as the office of fatherhood, which of course is why Joseph is so awesome, you know? So like I had never, even in the NAB, it's that way. And so like I had never really noticed or, you know, considered the implications of that profound act. Yeah.
So we're here sitting here with Father Donald Calloway talking about St. Joseph, his book Consecration to St. Joseph, the wonders of our spiritual father. You can go get it on his website, your local Catholic gift and bookstore, or I'm sure Amazon has it as well. We're going to continue this conversation right after this break. Hang out there with us. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Father, I've started to see Peter Julian Amard everywhere lately.
Isn't he amazing?
Yeah. I did a retreat here in the diocese, and he was the patron saint of the retreat I went on. And I had never heard of him. I had no idea. I was even a little bummed out when it's like, who's this guy? Like they picked some obscure saint I've never heard of, you know, like couldn't we have had like an awesome saint or something, you know? And
as if not all saints are not awesome.
Right. But like since then, it's like I've seen him all over the place, you know, and I'd never heard of him before. So
yeah, it was incredible. I heard about him in seminary, and I read some of his. He has those little volumes, on the Eucharist, Our Lady, Saint Joseph. But he packs a punch, and he's hardcore.
Yeah, that he is totally. So anyway, thank you for including him in your book.
Probably the most quoted saint in the book.
Yes.
Yeah, him or the Shamanade.
Shamanade, yeah.
Shamanade. We kept.
Yeah.
I don't say Maria.
Lemonade, Shamanade, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready? We have 12 more minutes. Is that good with you?
Great.
All right.
All right, let's roll.
This is the last one.
Yeah, last one.
Last segment. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles here with Adam Minahan. We got Juan Posada on the buttons, Jim Spencer playing the bouncer today. We're joined via vMix call by Father Donald Calloway, author of Consecration to St. Joseph, The Wonders of Our Spiritual Father, a book that you guys all really do need because, there's no other book like this one. You mentioned the Champions of the Rosary, another great book. There's a lot of books on the Rosary, a lot of and they're all probably good in their own way. But this book, I don't think has ever been written, Father. You might, I mean, do you know of any other? I really don't know of any other books on Saint Joseph like this.
Not like this. Yeah, this is not only got the academic stuff where you're getting doctrinal type things, but also the piety, the devotion. And it's a double whammy, so to speak.
So, Father, we wanted to save this for when you were on air with us because we've not announced this at all. This is something we've never done. We've wanted to do for a long time. But
our show we started in 2016, so we're
a long time, and
4 years in.
This is something we have been thinking about the whole time. About we need a patron saint for our show, and so it is our pleasure today to announce that Saint Joseph is the official patron saint of the Catholic Man Show, partly due to
your book,
due to this book. So thank you very much.
So awesome! So excited, guys! That is fantastic, man. Thanks.
Yeah,
it's like it
well,
is
Saint
right
Joseph,
and just.
Saint Joseph is fantastic, which is
yes.
We were thinking about if we were the Catholic Man Show. Are we really allowed to pick another saint other than Saint Joseph? We're going to discredit ourselves if we do that.
Right.
So I just want to put a bow on the whole reverence theory thing, just because I really do appreciate this, because this one element for me was a big challenge, but when I got over it, it was just like, it just brought a lot of appreciation. When you were talking about how Joseph knew St. Mary better than he knew Mary better than anybody, even, it's not like he didn't know who he was marrying. So the fact that he knew that she was super virtuous. The idea that she would cheat on him
never crossed.
It would just be utterly ridiculous, and he knew that. And so to me, that really ruled out. It's like, yeah, of course, that does rule out the suspicion theory. I just wanted to. I had to throw that in there. The other thing I want to talk to you about today is the old versus young Saint Joseph. Okay, because I don't know if old people are easier to paint or something, but all of the paintings of Saint Joseph throughout history have him as an old dude. Why is that? What's up with that?
Yeah. Well, the intentions for doing that were good. It's just that they were really grounded in what we call apocryphal writings. Because in the New Testament, and still to this day, we have no official teaching on the age of St. Joseph. The Catholic Church in Catechism point 744, it doesn't state anything like this. We don't have it. But in the early church, they wanted to so defend the virginity of Mary, which is good, right? That they thought the best way to do that would be to depict St. Joseph as being practically dead, with no virile powers left to even entertain any kind of desire. So they thought, well, that's what we'll do. So literally, there are accounts in apocryphal writings where he marries Our Lady at age 98. No kidding. I mean,
Wow.
it just they take it to the
Well,
extreme.
really?
So that's where that comes from.
Is that the Proto-Evangelium of James, or is that
No,
something
this
else?
was a Coptic. This is a Coptic apocryphal writing.
Okay.
Where he's 98. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that is super old.
Right.
Like I didn't even know. I didn't know people lived that long back then.
But what I loved about the book is that you make the counter argument for a young Saint Joseph, and once I started reading it, I was like, well, this makes sense. If we're talking about Saint Joseph being a virtuous man, it totally makes sense. And not to mention all the transportation that he had to go from Bethlehem, Nazareth to Egypt. Like an old man can't do that. And if there were like robbers on the side of the road, and they saw an old man,
nobody's gonna be.
No,
nobody's gonna care about an old man,
right?
Like,
but if a young guy would be a little bit more intimidating, maybe so, and he's the protector of Mary. So I mean, there's so many things that you brought out in this book that I was like, man, that is awesome. So maybe give us a little idea of why you think that Saint Joseph is a young Saint Joseph.
Well, he was called to be the model of masculinity for the God-man. So remember, he was the father of Jesus, not the grandfather of Jesus. So it was St. Joseph who taught him how to pray, right? The mother's role to lead the prayers. It was not the mother's role in the family. It was the father's. He's the one who taught him how to work. And when God wanted to imitate someone in the person of Jesus Christ, he chose to imitate St. Joseph. So he has the mannerisms, the accent, probably a similar walk as St. Joseph. Those are huge. If St. Joseph was old, Jesus would have observed forgetfulness and afternoon naps, right? You need a father to model. And not only that, but, Jewish men were required to walk to Jerusalem 3 times a year for Jewish rituals. And if you add that up, let's say 30 years, let's just say 30 years that St. Joseph walked. It probably was more than that. If you add up the math, St. Joseph was required to walk almost like 3/4 of the way around the planet. If you add the math, from Nazareth to Jerusalem is a 3-day walk. 3 times a year for 30 years, you're walking 3/4 of the way around the planet. Old men can't do this. Right. So this just is just looking at it logically. And, it's not me just saying this. I mean, we've got great people like Venerable Fulton Sheen, who gives phenomenal explanations about this. How young men, actually, it's more virtuous for a young man to be chaste than it is for an old man. An old man doesn't have passion anymore. It's waning. But when a young man has it and he puts it in control for God's holy purposes, like St. Joseph, we're talking extreme virtue. He lived with the most beautiful woman ever to walk the planet. So, yeah, I definitely think he was younger.
Yeah, you have an extended quote by Venerable Fulton Sheen in the book, and man, he is so powerful on this point. Like, he just leaves no doubt. I mean, like, he's just so. I mean, he's Fulton Sheen. He's like logically airtight, but man, he just is like, okay. I remember when I got to that part in your book, I was like, all right, I know what team I'm on, because I kind of wasn't on a team. Like, I didn't really like have a dog in the fight, like about how old is Saint Joseph. Like, I don't know, what. But after that, I was like, no, don't you dare say he's an old man. Like, you are wrong.
Father, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, there's a lot of guys and a lot of men and women in this world who grew up with not a role model of a father, who they can't trust. They don't know what a true virtuous man is because they never had it in their life. How can Saint Joseph help these people?
Yeah, well, this is another big part of why I put the book together, because we are definitely suffering from major father wounds. And, even in the church, we've had a lot of things happen that have been, very bad. And a lot of people have bad relationships with the father, whether it's any form of abuse, emotional, psychological, or worse. That's where we need St. Joseph to come in, because he's still our father, in heaven on a spiritual level. And he wants to take care of us. He was the father of the head of the mystical body of Christ. So he's the father of the members, which means he wants to care for us. He wants to console us. He wants to be a part of our life. And that's where his titles in the litany come in. He's the comfort of the afflicted. He's the solace of the miserable. He's the terror of demons. He's the pillar of families, the glory of domestic life. He's a comfort for us in every way. And we need him today big time.
Yeah, and I even loved, when I prayed this, I was praying the litany with my wife at the end of the evening, and I didn't realize how much she was going to get out of it. You know, when I looked at the Consecration of St. Joseph, I thought, this is a man's book. You know, this is for men. But I've heard a lot of women who have thoroughly enjoyed this book, and not only and cultivated this relationship with St. Joseph that they really needed.
Yeah.
Talk about that, maybe to push guys to have their wives read it.
Yes, for sure. And the book was written for everyone, so men, women, children. But you're right. Women, I think, hearing from them is that some of those wounds from the past or relationships or so forth, they're finding great healing, because a lot when they're hurt from men, whether it's a father or a husband, a boyfriend, whatever, they get insecure. That's the word. I talk to so many women in counseling and spiritual direction who suffer from insecurity because there was a wound there that was inflicted by a man. Well, St. Joseph is so healing for that, because he's never going to hurt you, never going to harm you. He is all loving. He is just there for you night and day, 24/7. He is there. And to think that he took care of Our Lady, you know, the woman who was just, you know, that masterpiece, the Immaculata, he's there for all of us. And women's hearts are healing from this book.
Yeah, I can just tell you that my wife and I, we did it together. And she just loved it. I mean, she loved it as much as I did. And so she just got so much out of it, because at the end of the day, women need spiritual fatherhood just like men do.
Right.
You know?
And how pleasing would it be to St. Joseph, knowing that your domestic church is growing in holiness and love for our Lord, and for have veneration for St. Joseph through this book, through venerating him.
So let me ask you one question. We've just got about a minute left. I've already done a total consecration to Our Lady, by St. Louis de Montfort. How is it, am I allowed to consecrate myself again? Should I consecrate myself to all of the saints? Or and how does it work? Like St. Joseph, Mary.
Right.
Can you do you know what I'm asking?
No. Yeah, so the easiest answer is to say that we're not members of a one-parent spiritual family. Like, you don't only talk to your mom, you talk to your dad too. So we need to do this because it's of Jesus. And what's going to take Jesus to give ourselves to both Mary and Joseph.
I love it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Father, I am so grateful for you to hang out with us this evening. Thank you so much for writing the book. It was great to talk to you again. I hope we get our paths cross again very soon, because I loved hanging out with you in Wichita, and hopefully we can hang out again soon.
Sounds good, brothers. God bless you guys.
Thanks so much. All right. If you would go offline real quick so we can just say, Father's there. Okay, yeah. If you'll go offline just for a second, and that way we can talk to Father just really quick.
Yeah, I just want to find out about this